Okay, and there we're both there. Sorry,
All right.
I'm juggling more screens than I usually do. I need a second screen. I have
Awesome. Yeah,
so
I got
many
a second
windows open.
screen, and it's just an amazing thing to have. I'm trying to persuade Gina to get me a third screen. Um, so that's happening in the background. I think we both gone for a run this morning. How many kilometers did you do?
I do 5 kilometers a day.
Wow, that's impressive. So today I did 3.7, but my Strava app lost signal and didn't save it. So I've actually got no evidence to show my friends that I actually did it. So that's didn't count.
So it doesn't count. This is the thing about these exercise apps and all this equipment. It's like if I'm doing exercise and I'm not wearing my watch or I'm not tracking it on the app, it's like, well,
Did it happen?
Yeah. Which is quite sad when you think about it. It's not about the enjoyment of the run. It's about
I was mad. I was looking at my app. I kept refreshing the app. Come on, please tell me you logged this.
What was the point of that exercise?
Yeah. If it's not logged, and I can't tell my friends about it.
Not to do with the inherent enjoyment or the fitness or the cardio and that. No, don't count.
No, it doesn't count. And to be honest, I'm one of those people that if I could never work out again but have the benefits, I would do that all day long. I don't find much enjoyment in working out. Right, but today, welcome to Tuesday of the BBO show. And if you've been following along, we're going to take you from the start to end. And the process from the start to end is creating your very own ebook in order for you to start the process of building out your very own value ladder. So the ebook fits right here at the start in this diagram that I'm holding up. And the value ladder is a sequence that you will take a customer through or a group of customers through. And that will be an escalation process for them. And if you followed us in our business week where we discussed business, if you listen to this, it will be last week. We very much spoke about the process that we would take a customer through and the 3 forms of value that we recommend you start with and in what order. So that would be product first, which is an ebook as an example, then move them to a subscription service, whether that's physical or digital. And then finally, you can then introduce them to a service. Now, most people don't do this. That's the reality of it. But this week, we're talking about getting you started and actually having that built into your business so you benefit from all the advantages of having this in place. Now, yesterday we started a topic about creating this ebook. What are the benefits? What are the advantages of this? Why we're creating an ebook, period, and what's the difference between what we're doing and what a typical author would do, somebody who's writing a novel. And the big distinction is the person writing the novel or an author of a book, that is their end destination. That's the item that they want to sell. Think of that as their core product, their premium product. Whereas we are creating an ebook for the purpose of allowing an entry point for our customers into our world, into us as people, to create authority, brand, and the word or phrase coined by Daniel Priestley is to position ourselves as a key person of influence. So that's where we are. Now, yesterday we spoke about all of that. All done. So go check in that episode if you're just joining us now. Today we're speaking about what our book will be about and moving away from the gut feel of, I think my book should be about this, but actually giving you an approach and a system which you can use again and again and again in order to determine exactly what your book should be about, where it should live on the internet, where it should live on what particular platform. And that's what we're talking about today, using tools to help you. And we've got two categories to share with you, and this will be hopefully eye-opening. So just to get started, you're probably going to spend more time with Kyle than myself today. So I'm sure there's a small percentage of people listening who are going to be very upset by that. But Kyle will be walking you through via a screen share of this process. Now, if you're listening to this on audio, I do recommend certainly today's show, you go and check out the video portion, and you can do that either via the YouTube channel, Building Businesses Online, or the website, which is bbo.show. You just type that as your URL and you're good to go. You'll find us there with the show notes. So Carl, just talk about, introduce the concept of what our book is about and how somebody can approach it on their end.
Absolutely. So yesterday we talked about why writing ebooks is such a powerful tool to be used in building an online business. And one of the objections we came across, and address yesterday briefly was, what if I don't have an idea for a book? What if I don't know what my book should be about? That's really what this is. This whole lesson today is going to be about. It's about working out what your book should be, and then moving towards getting things like a title locked down. We should have that by the end of today. Now, there are two basic methods here that people would normally start with. So they'd either start with themselves and they would think, oh, I should write a book about this, or I'd really like to write a book about this, or I could write a book about this particular topic. That's fine, but that does not address the fact that the market may or may not want it. So if we start entirely 100% internally, great, you'll come up with something that's very passionate, it's very much you, but that doesn't necessarily mean anyone's going to buy the book. And the flip side of this is somebody who comes at this and they are thinking, I purely want to make money on Amazon. I purely want to get a book that is selling and I can have a passive income. Again, this is doable. Lots of people do this. This is a business model that people follow. But by doing that, we're just following the market, and we will create something that's relatively generic, not necessarily based in our expertise. It's not going to carry across the passion and the interest and our own knowledge and skills. And instead, we'll end up with something that's quite generic out there in the market. It will sell, and that's fine. But we're going to be looking at something that's a bit more hybrid, something that comes from inside you. It is based on your expertise, your knowledge, and your skills in your particular business niche, but with reference to the market as well. So we're making sure that what we create is actually valuable. It's actually solving people's problems. I remember when we talked about business last week, we talked about that's what a business is. A business solves people's problems. And if you can do that, you are putting value into the market and you will have a successful business. That, again, is going to be the focus here.
Yeah. So just to summarize that, what we're saying is, on one side, you've got you and your idea, what you want the book to be about. Then on the other side, we've got the market. And what we can't do is look at each of these as individual units or each of these exclusively. We can't look at ourselves because, that may be what we're interested in, but the purpose here is to get customers through the door. What if they're not interested in that particular topic that we specifically want to talk about? Then you've got the market, which, okay, great, the market wants this, but I don't really want to talk about that. That actually doesn't relate exactly to my business. Right, so we've got two extremes here. What we want to do is find somewhere in the middle. We want to find a balance between what we want to talk about, the self, us, and what the market requires. What problem does the market have that we can solve? And then somewhere in the middle is the answer here, rather than focusing on the two extremes. So let's start with your expertise. So let's start with you. So, okay, we're not going to be looking at both in its individual units, but throughout today's show, we're going to look at you as the individual and what we can extract there, and then the marketplace and what we can extract there. And we've got some really cool tools which Carl will show you via a screen grab. So if you're via audio, you're still good for now. So let's start with your expertise, then we will reference the market. So like I said, the solution is somewhere in between, but what we want to do is start, I guess, journaling, start free writing, basically get a piece of paper and to help you start extracting what you're an expert in and what expert knowledge you have. Essentially, we want to just start writing and answering a few questions, which is, within your expertise or within your industry, what common problems have you identified that people have? What are things that typically people come to you again and again and again? Another thing to maybe jot down is, put yourself back into your shoes of when you first started or whatever it is that you do, and how did you get started in that field? What did you learn? What challenges did you have? What was the journey? What was the arc of the story there? How did you get started? Was there qualifications involved? Was there somebody you learned from? And then we want to talk about the arc itself. Now, how did you go from there, where you got started, to where you are now? What was the beginning? What is the middle? And what is the end currently? And the end will very much help you answer the question, What do people come to you for? What do they come ask you about? They know that you're an expert within a specific field, within a specific niche. What do they come talk to you about? And what results do people want? So when they come to you, at the core of it, what results are they looking to achieve? What do they want from you? And that information will serve a purpose. It will serve a result. So it could be that you're extracting information, but that information will help them achieve something. What is that something that they are looking to get from you as a result of the information you've given? So think of this process as an exercise. It's a journaling, it's a writing exercise, answering these questions. This will allow you to very quickly extract and start to document some of the areas which you may not have been aware of, which may be useful when sharing that information. So that's a starting exercise. But remember that it comes from the business niche first. We don't ignore that. So if you look at the baton model on this piece of paper, baton is the system which we teach. That's the fundamental principle. Everything we talk about on the show can be linked back to this. Now, business comes first as part of the baton system before anything else. Now, I would recommend tuning in to last week's show. So I will make sure I reference the episode names, because no doubt we're going to reference back to that week again and again and again. But what that week will help you do is actually nail your niche. What is your business niche that you can talk into? So this exercise I've just shared with you is a snapshot. But if you really truly want to get the results from this, I would check out last week, work through that process, because once you've identified your niche, you can very much start to handle this ebook process with ease. Like, it just becomes so much easier because the part of business is handled. What am I talking about? What market am I talking to? That's already done. And there's exercises, there's processes to work through to get you to that final point. So go back through that if you can. If you don't have time and you're following along this week, that's okay. Start with that exercise snapshot. Now, Kyle, once we have that, and once we have come to that stage, what do we do next?
Sure. So you should have a 1 or 2 word phrase, which is your business niche. This is your expertise. We're just going to go ahead and plug those words into Amazon. Now, Amazon is one of many book markets, but it is the largest. It's where most people purchase books. You can go to Kobo or Abe or some of the other ones, but the amount of data on Amazon is going to give you a much richer, much fuller example of what is available in the market. So we're going to be using Amazon almost exclusively through this course. You can publish on other platforms, but we're going to stick to Amazon for now. So head over to amazon.com or amazon.co.uk if you're in the UK, and we're going to be plugging your business niche into the top search bar. That's nice and simple. And we're just going to see what turns up. What are the top results? Who are the top authors? One nice little thing you can do is you can start typing in your business niche. So let's say my business is, let's say I'm a business consultant and I help people to grow their businesses. I might type in, I don't know, grow a business or business coaching,
business expansion.
Yeah, business expansion. And I would see what Amazon gives me in the autocomplete. Amazon gives away its keywords while you are searching for things, because remember, people are going to Amazon trying to find solutions to their problems. So we can ask Amazon what people are looking for. We're going to go into that in a lot more detail.
Yes, so think about the Amazon search box, very similar to how you would use a Google search. Mm-hmm. You know, when you type in a Google search, you have a problem, you're looking for the answer for something, you're looking for the solution for something. Now, just treat the Amazon in this specific exercise and experience, just treat the Amazon box just as you would the Google search engine as well.
Absolutely. So what you'll quickly notice, though, when you're on Amazon is there's a lot of information, a huge amount of information, and it's quite hard to tell where you should be placing yourself in the market. Is this a good market? Is this a bad market? It's very difficult without having rules of thumb, a way to compare different markets or different keywords or different search terms, etc. It's difficult. So what we want to do today is give you a framework that you can use to very quickly analyze the right place for your book to live on Amazon. So remember, we're starting with keywords, or we're starting with your business niche. We're starting with 2 or 3 words that describe what you do. That's our starting point. We're not starting totally randomly with Pilates, or with flower arrangement, or with, I don't know, interior design. These are not necessarily your niches. Yes, maybe you can do well on Amazon with them, but if they're not your niche, we're ignoring them for now, because Amazon's already too big. So we start with your business niche, and then we're going to use that as a starting point, and we're going to go through a framework to help you by the end of today decide on the category where your book is going to live on Amazon, and some keywords. And the keywords would be how people find your book. These are the 2 end results of today. So first, category.
So just to summarize it, so those 2 results that they have at the end of the day, the category and keywords. Now, what's the advantage of this when you're comparing it to, look, if we was exclusively looking at ourselves, that we wouldn't be able to gain this information. So what's the advantage of working them through this process before we get started?
Good question. It's primarily to do with discoverability. On Amazon, there's a lot. There's a lot of information, a lot of products, a lot of books, a lot of audiobooks. Amazon is, it's called the marketplace for everything, the everything marketplace, because there's a huge amount of choice there. We want to be as easy to find as possible. We want people who have a problem we can solve to be able to find our book nice and simply. And the main elements in discoverability, in being found on Amazon, are the category that you're sitting in and the keywords that you use to describe your book. Now, we'll talk about what they are in more detail, but specifically, keywords are little phrases or individual words within your title, within your subtitle, and within your description. And if Amazon sees these certain words and it knows somebody is searching for a certain type of book, it will be able to link you together. So this is all about discoverability. If we started from, our passion project, we could still find a category, we could still find keywords that are relevant, but there's no guarantee that anybody is interested in this category. There are some very obscure categories on Amazon that nobody cares about, and there's not enough activity there for it to be worth our time. Or 2 are keywords. Yes, the keywords might be very relevant to the book that we've created, to us, and to the content we've created, but if nobody's searching for them again, nobody's going to find our book, nobody's going to buy the book, and ultimately you have, yes, a very personal book that might mean a lot to you, but nobody cares, which is quite disheartening. And you see a lot of books like this on Amazon, where somebody's obviously poured a lot of love and attention into it, and it just doesn't sell because Amazon is too busy. We need to marry the 2. We need to start, yes, with your expertise and your passion, so that the end product's great, but we need to be realistic about the market as well and bring them together. And that's where we can be successful.
Yeah, so the advantages of understanding and using a tool or a system to analyze categories and analyze keywords is essential. Otherwise, all of that great work you're doing and putting into the ebook will feel like it's wasted when nobody can see it. And that's the challenge, is very much that when the online world, and I don't know the statistic, but there'll be thousands and thousands and thousands of books that are self-published. Now, how do you cut through that noise? It's by doing this process which Carl will share, which most people who publish an ebook won't be aware of. So this will give you a great advantage. So, okay, so now I say farewell, but I'll be hiding in the background temporarily, and Carl will walk you through category.
I'll keep you up for a bit.
Okay, cool.
Don't worry, I'll banish you when it's time. So the reason for that is we want to be able to show Amazon on screen, which means one of us needs to hide for a bit, because really without showing you how I'm doing this on Amazon, it's a bit pointless, me just telling you the concepts, but we'll start there for now. So we are first going to be starting with the category. The category is the big bucket, the big subject area that Amazon classifies all of its products. And Amazon uses category, I think there are 6,500. I believe it's It's some obscene amount of categories across the whole of Amazon. Within books, I think even within books, it's a few thousand categories. So we're not just talking about biography. We're talking about all the subcategories that might live within biography. Obviously, there's autobiography, then there'll be literary biography, then there'll be certain types of biography like war or military biography, for example. Amazon uses all these categories to sort and order the massive amount of products that they have, and to help people hone in on what kind of stuff they like. So if I'm buying lots of stuff in the military biography section, for example, Amazon's more likely to continue to show me stuff from military biography instead of, for example, a category like crochet. That's a different category. It has no connection, and therefore Amazon can slowly hone in on what it is I'm interested and start to keep showing me those things again and again and again. The result of that is I see stuff I'm actually interested in, which is good, and I'm more likely to purchase, which is good for Amazon. So everybody wins.
Yeah, and
use categories.
And so in terms of categories, and I just checked the statistics, there's 16,000 plus categories, and no doubt they're growing and growing. And that was in the Kindle section, so no doubt that
16,000,
covers.
is that just books?
I think it's just books, based on that link.
The numbers are always, so the numbers are slightly different because they're slightly different on different Amazons as well. Amazon.com is different to Amazon.uk. Which is different to .de, the German one, for example. So we're going to be generally talking about .com and .co.uk. But if you hear a number, or if we go through a certain method, or talk about a certain category, it may or may not exist on your local Amazon. It's a useful thing to bring up here.
Okay, that's good to know. Now,
16,000.
so you working through this process will help you identify, and the aim will be to get to a point where we can choose 2 and 3. Yes, 2 and 3 out of 16,000, which we'll be uploading to Amazon later. Now, it's good to know them now, but it's not essential. But it does help, do some of this work in advance. Now, in regards to success, and we'll describe what success is in a moment. In regards to finding a category, success will specifically be determined by a balance between 2 key metrics. Metric number 1 is you can enter a smaller, less competitive market. So imagine there's a smaller, less competitive market here, and that's great. There's a higher chance of you becoming a bestseller and rising to the top. Now, if you're near the top, you're more likely to continue to be successful because the winners continue to win. But the challenge is it's a small category and it may not be that popular. So that's one side of things. So what's the other, so I guess the problem there is yes, you're winning. Yes, you may be ranking to the top of that particular category, but essentially you're a small fish you're a big fish in a small pond. That's probably the correct phrase. Yeah,
you're a big fish in a small pond. So yes, you're dominating this sub category.
But it's small
compared to everybody else in that subcategory. You're making a lot of sales, but a lot of sales in that category might be 1 a month, and that's still enough to make you a top seller there because it's such an unpopular category. So yeah, that's one element, is competitiveness. If we enter a very non-competitive category, it's probably non-competitive for a reason, and the reason is it's not a very good marketplace. There aren't that many people interested in purchasing. So we can dominate a small one, but the rewards are lower. That's one side.
So that's one side. So one side is smaller, less competitive. So then the natural thinking may be, okay, great. So now let's enter a large category, which is competitive, but there's potential for getting sales there because it's a category that people are interested in. As an example of a category like that, it could be business. So you can go to Amazon and find the category business, and no doubt there will be an incredible amount of sales within that category. Now, here's the challenge with this other side of the extreme is it's too big. It's too big. Now you are a small fish in a massive pond, but the big fish are people like Warren Buffett. The big fish are people like Richard Branson, who releases his new book. The big fish are authors who are already globally recognized and have the backing of publishers. And other unique scenarios like that, but typically they're a big name that if they put on their Instagram, yep, just released a book, it's now available on Amazon, they shoot to the top as a bestseller list just because of their clout in the marketplace. They are the big fish in that area. So those are the two extremes. Okay, small, less competitive, but low sales, very competitive, large, and potential for great sales, but you're a different size fish depending on which pond you sit in. So what's the zone, or what's the focus here in order to be successful within an Amazon category?
Sure. So it's going to be the Goldilocks zone. We need to find something in between, a category that's big enough for us to bother about, but not so big and popular that it's extremely competitive, that we have no chance of ranking in the top 10 or the top 20. So that means we need to find something in the middle that's not too hot, not too cold, but just right. And that requires us to do a bit of technical analysis, a bit of poking around to find these particular categories. However, once we find them, this is going to guide what our book's going to be about. So we are getting towards the content, but we're starting here with looking at the market and making sure that whatever we create is actually going to be received well and will do well.
Yeah, because the danger is, you write the book. Okay, you don't do this market research. Essentially, that's what it is. You write the book, you go onto Amazon, you go to publish it, you go to put it into a category that's relevant to what you've spoken about. And what happens? It may naturally fit into one of those ponds. I'm going to call it a pond now. So, and in each one of those, there's not going to be success. We need to find a middle ground, just like Carl described.
Sure. And most people would, let's say I've written a book about business, about entrepreneurship. Most people, when they go to upload and it says, hey, what category did you put it in? They'd be like, business, obviously.
Obviously,
But then you're up against the New York Times bestsellers, and your chance of staying in the top 20 is tiny. If you do, you make a huge amount of money, but it's very difficult to do unless you have a large budget or you have a really solid marketing plan. So we're going to make life a lot easier on ourselves and go for the Goldilocks zone. We're going to go for something in between where we can start to build our brand on Amazon.
Fantastic. Now do you banish me?
Yeah, I'm going to banish you. I'm going to show the cool tools. It's
All
fun
right.
stuff. All right, you go and have a tea or something. Do you want to meet?
I'll be in the background. I'll be watching because this stuff is.
Oh, there we go. And that is black. That's unhelpful. There we go. Right. So this is Amazon. I'm on amazon.co.uk, but this would work for anything at all. I want to show you a couple of things. So this is the problem. Now I can't see the notes. This is why I need multiple screens. That's okay. We should be fine. Sorry, let me just rearrange everything on my tiny laptop. So I want to show you what categories are, because you may not have been aware of categories. Categories are on the left here, but there's actually a far more granular set of categories. One Amazon book or one Amazon object can appear in multiple categories. I think it's up to between 7 and 10. You get to choose 2 or 3 when you upload your product or your ebook, but there are more. But what I want to okay. I can see them as well. That's right. So I'm going to look at this. Mrs. Hinch. Sorry, Harms is talking to me. This is Mrs. Hinch's little book of lists, for example. I'm just using this as an example. Normally, I'd have to come into the Amazon listing and scroll down, and here we go. These are 3 of the categories that Mrs. Hinch's, whatever it's called, is ranking in. Is number 1, good job, in psychologist biographies, which, okay, we were just talking about biographies and how there are multiple niches. This is an example of a very specific biography. It's a psychologist's biography. So it's number 1 there. It's number 1 in home improvement household hints, and it's number 1 in home improvement guides. So these are 3 of the categories in which it's ranking, and it's doing very well in those categories. Normally, though, this information is quite hidden. You'd have to go into the listing and scroll down past all of this nonsense and look in this product detail panel. What I want to suggest is you download a free extension, and it's called DS Amazon Quick View. So if you just Google DS Amazon Quick View, you can download it for Chrome, I think Firefox as well. Totally free. installs in your browser bar. Here it is, Chrome Web Store, DS Amazon Quick View. Perfect. Don't need to pay for that. I think there is a premium version. You do not need it. But what you'll see is when I do any Amazon search, instead of me having to go and look inside that product to get all of the product categories, what DS Amazon Quick View, horrible name, has done is it pulls these categories out and it shows them directly in these listings. So I can now see, oh look, Mrs. Hinch's book of lists is #1 in psychologist biographies, #1 in home improvement, etc. And you can see this for every single item for the whole of Amazon, which is really useful. Very cool stuff. Now, what we want to do, so let's say I'm going to go with my business coaching idea. So let's start with business. And it's going to give me, can you see it's loading up the ranks? Quick note, see this is a sponsored book. We're going to ignore that. That means somebody is paying for that to appear at the top of the search results, which is why this book isn't particularly popular, but it's showing up at the top instead. Oh, that's sponsored too. Here we go, personal MBA. I'm starting to see more results, which are real results. So the DS extension allows us to see which categories we could be looking at for our particular book. And what I like to do for each of these is basically open it up in a new tab. So entrepreneurship, that's another one that I might be looking at. Starting a small business, I can look at. And I can look at these categories as a whole. And this shows me the Amazon bestseller for each of these categories. So if I were you, the first step is you plug in your niche idea. For me, it's going to be business, or whatever it is, business coaching or business growth. And then I would find all of the top books on the search results that are already ranking and use these categories to start exploring the categories. So I'm not interested in the actual products at the moment. I'm only interested in the categories. So I'd open these all up: entrepreneurship careers, entrepreneurship books, small business entrepreneurship. Open them all up in individual tabs so that I can see the top books in each of these categories. So what information can we get from this? There we go, it's loading them up. Let's say I'm in, well, let's do business as a whole, because it's we'll start with this. Okay, so let's say I'm looking in starting a small business. This is the category page. It's showing me all of the bestsellers in starting a small business. You can see we've got 4-Hour Work Week, and these are its different categories. We've got 0 to 1, obviously quite a big book. Good to Great, these are big books. What I'm now interested in, now that I'm in the category view, is this number. This is something called the Amazon sales rank. Now, an Amazon sales rank of 1 is extremely good. An Amazon sales rank of 100,000 is not very good. It's a ranking. So #1 means you are first, you're the best-selling book. So that's probably going to be Harry Potter or the Bible. I don't know, one of those. Whereas this means Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week is, out of all the books on Amazon, is 919. So that's pretty great. It's in the top 1,000. 0 to 1 is 1,382, etc. And as we go down, these will probably, there we go, the numbers are getting higher and higher. These are less and less popular books. These are all still pretty popular though. What we need though is a rule of thumb, because how can I compare this, starting a small business, to home-based businesses? For example, these sound like very similar categories. So we need a rule of thumb in order to gauge whether this is a worthwhile category or not. So this is very rough indeed, but what I like to use is, if in the top 10 you have lots of books that are under 1,000, it's too competitive. So if it's like Steve Jobs' biography, Warren Buffett's new book, Richard Branson's, etc., they'd be like 200, 300, they'd be very high. Very high rankings. This, I've got one that's below 1,000, and the rest are not too too much competition, so I'd be okay with starting a small business. What the other thing I'm looking at is I want to make sure all of the books in the top 10 have a Amazon ranking of under 100,000. That means that enough books are selling. So, okay, let's step back again. For a category, I'm looking for the top 10 books to all fall in between 1,000 and 100,000. If the number is less than 1,000, that means that the competition is too high. If the number is more than 100,000, it means that nobody's buying these books and the category has no market. So these are rules of thumb, but it's a good way to get started. What I did want to show you though, because this is very manual, we'd have to go through each category like this, look at the numbers, and decide, okay, this is below 1,000, that's fine, this is fine. I'd have to do this manually for each and every page. I want to show you a tool called KD Spy, which basically at a click of a button will tell you whether this is a good category or not without you having to go through all of this analysis yourself. I'm just going to put it up on this page. Now, KD Spy is a paid tool, but it's quite cheap. It is, I believe it's $47 for a lifetime, and it gives you a massive amount of data. And what I'm interested in here, and I hope it's visible, is this traffic light system. So I'm sitting in, again, the Amazon bestsellers for starting a small business. All I do is click KD Spy, and it's grabbed the details of all the books, and it's saying, okay, popularity, good, green light. This category is very popular, and the books have good sales volume. Revenue potential is really good. However, competition is a bit high. So that's because these top 10, this one's below 1,000, this one's kind of close to 1,000. It's saying, okay, there is competition here. I wouldn't go near it. So this gives you a really nice traffic light system. Oh, you can't see it. Okay, so Harms is saying that you can't see it. It's probably because it's a pop-up. So you have to take my word for it. KD Spy, let me see if I can bring it up. I'm pulling Harms back for a second, then I'm going to pull up that screen differently. You can't see it. Let me pull that up while you continue talking about categories for a moment.
Yeah. So what the purpose of this, rather than focus on categories for a moment, is the purpose of this is to make your life simpler. That's the key. If we look at there's two mechanisms. One is making your life simpler in regards to speeding up the process for free. How do you work out which category to enter for free? And then the next phase is, I've got a budget to pay for a tool, and I'm happy to pay for that convenience. So we're sharing two tools here, essentially. One is a completely free tool, which is a Chrome or Firefox plugin. And then there's, which we're describing as, what the next tool is?
KD Spy.
KD Spy, which is a better name than DS Amazon Quick View. So KD Spy, and there you can see it on the screen. So I'll pass back to Carl then to talk through the traffic light system.
Sure. So I've just brought it up on the screen. You should be able to see it now because I'm sharing my whole screen. So just in the bottom right here, you see popularity is green light, potential is green light, competition is a red light. That's telling me, yeah, this is a great market, but it's going to be too competitive. You are not going to be able to rank here. And that tells me immediately, which is very quick. Again, let's say I go into home-based businesses, it sounds very similar to starting a small business, but it's slightly different on Amazon. So home-based businesses, I would again press KD Spy, and it's saying, okay, popularity, good, you've got a green light. Competition, good, there's not that much competition here. Potential, it's given me an amber light or a yellow light. So it's saying, you can't make a huge amount of money here, but the other two are good. So what we'd be looking for is investigating all the different categories around our business idea, looking for something that has 3 green lights. So KD Spy just makes it a lot easier. It makes it a lot quicker because of this traffic light system. If you're doing it manually, you're looking for things that are between 1,000 and 100,000 in Amazon sales ranks. And even then, it requires a bit of faith, a bit of guesswork, because we don't. It's not running as much data as something like KD Spy is. So I'd recommend investing in something like KD Spy. It's $50, and because if you can find the correct category for your book, that's a lot of your work is going to be covered for you. All right, You're still on.
So that's fantastic. So what we've shared with you there is 2 tools. Number one is a free tool, which helps you identify what category to enter. And that's DS Amazon Quick View. That's just a plugin. The second tool is KD Spy, which is paid. But I mean, look, if you're going to be doing this and you're doing this for the purpose of creating a value ladder, think about, okay, they purchase this product, this product, this product. KD Spy is potentially an investment, as an example. Now, there's no affiliate links associated with this, nothing like that at this stage, but we just want to share with you the different levels associated with this. Now, the final way to do this is to head over to Fiverr. So there's 3 different ways. Head over to Fiverr and pay somebody else to do the research for you. And there's lots of people who are there which can pull the niche category data and information based on your initial idea. Yep. Your initial idea comes from all the work we did last week. So that's that. They will then work off the basis of that and then start to extract the data. They may be using a tool like KD Spy. They may be using an alternative tool. They may be doing it manually, but it doesn't matter because what we're paying them for is the time it takes to research, and then they'll plug out the information, which allows you to say, okay, that's the category, that's the category, that's the category I'm going to enter. Now, just wrapping up the categories, we've shared with you 3 different methods. Just remember, your book can rank in multiple categories and even ones you don't choose. So when you go to upload your book, and we'll talk about this later in the week, you have to choose or select 3 different categories. Your book can still rank in categories that you don't choose. That's all handled by the power of Amazon and the algorithm.
So as we just saw, that Mrs. Hinch's Big Book of Lists, which is about keeping your home tidy.
It's in psychology biography, yeah.
Well, it's a psychology biography. Don't know why. They probably did not select that. And I imagine if I had a look at the data, that is an extremely small category. It's probably just biographies of Freud and Jung. That's it.
Yeah, which is interesting because she's the lady who's famous for cleaning the house and stuff like that. Became Instagram famous and everybody's following her. I know that because Gina follows her and she does home hacks and her house is incredibly clean.
But she's not a psychologist, I'm assuming.
She's not a psychologist at all.
So this is probably, I mean, I'd have to look into it in more detail, but this is probably an example of Amazon saying, for whatever reason, oh, it fits in this category. And it's ranked and it's number 1 in that category. If it was only number 1 in that category, then they wouldn't be making very many sales. But it's also number 1 in multiple categories. It's also number 11 in books on Amazon right now. So pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, she's big time in that she just nailed a niche which nobody was doing. So if you think about how do you find a niche, that's exactly how to do it. But again, there's a mix there of organic and her personal brand. But again, the focus here is the key is, yes, you may rank in categories that you didn't choose, but the starting point is selecting 2 to 3 categories based on the research that we've done to increase the chance of success. Remember, we don't want to be a big fish in a small pond. We don't want to be a small fish in a big pond. We want to be somewhere in between so that we've got a competitive chance and a chance of sales and a chance of generating traffic, all things that we spoke about yesterday.
Okay, I need to eat my words. I just very quickly, so again, this is why KD Spy is awesome. I very quickly run an analysis on psychologist biographies. And so Mrs. Hinch is the top, then it's Fern Cotton's Happy, and then Unnatural Causes and some other books. It's in the UK, there is an estimated 200,000 revenue just in the top 20 books here. So what's happened is some publishers have found out that psychologist biographies is a good place to put general stuff about well-being and like mental well-being. Got things like Jog On, How Running Saved My Life, Lost Connections by Johan Hari. Is it Johan Hari? Whoever it is. But there's about 200,000 worth of sales in the UK only, just in this category. So this is an example of a category that you wouldn't choose. you wouldn't think like, oh, this is an obvious one for my book, but there's a lot of business going through this category. So with this information, you could actually choose to place your book in this category, because it is surprisingly a surprisingly good market.
Yeah, and what I love about that is, look, we can all have opinions, we can all have our thought or idea based on something, but until we actually use a tool like KD Spy and actually do some investigative research, then we get a true answer, which then we have to do something sensible, which is what Carl just did and said, I got to eat my words. And actually, this is a gem, and they found this gem by doing potentially some of the work that we've described here. So that's great. So just to wrap up the category before we move on to the next part, we've shared 3 methods actually, one brief. One is a manual method, which is completely free. The second is use KD Spy, and that's $40-$50, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
$47, and then you can extract that data quickly. Or third, just head over to Fiverr, Freelancer, or something like that, and pay somebody to do the research for you. Now, if you're unsure, this is a good time to talk about the Slack group. If you've got maybe you're toying with 3, 4, 5, 6 different categories, you paid somebody on Fiverr, they come back and they give you the answers that you were looking for, but they're more than what you thought, and you have to narrow it down to 3. Come and ask myself and Carl in the Slack group, and we can give you some encouragement to get started and maybe try this, try that, try this. And that's a good place to chat. The Slack group is in the description below. It's a private group. It's a free group. And people ask us lots of random questions about topics that we discuss in the BBO show. And that's the best place to get an answer from us. Very difficult to be on YouTube comments, Facebook comments, Instagram direct messaging, Twitch comments, all of those places at once, and make sure we get a response to everybody. So our focus with anybody who watches the BBO show or follows any of our material is within that Slack group. Great. So that's the category. By honing in on the category and doing this research, we increase the probability of success. Now, the second factor is keywords.
Yep. So the category is the general bucket in which we fall, and Amazon will help get people into the right bucket, but it's not going to necessarily hone them in on our book. This is where the keywords come into play. So when people go looking for a non-fiction book on Amazon, what are they actually doing? Why do they need this non-fiction book? Generally, they're looking to improve their life in some way. They're looking to learn a skill. They're looking to lose weight, or they want some kind of positive change in their life. They're looking for a solution to their problems. And remember, business, we talked about this last week, business is all about solving people's problems. That's how we create value, and then people pay us for that value, which is fantastic. So this is what people are doing when they're searching on Amazon. They don't necessarily know what the specific book they're looking for is. They know what their problem is, they know what their interest is, and they'll kind of they'll put that in there, like a marathon training plan if they're a runner and they want to build up to a marathon. And then Amazon is going to, based on the categories and based on the keywords, it's going to suggest, okay, these are the best books for what you're looking for right now. Now, this is for non-fiction, different for fiction. Although even in that case, if I type in vampire romance, that will be the keywords that's going to point me in the direction of vampire romance books.
So Twilight New Moon or something.
Yeah. So my problem there is, okay, I could make mean jokes about Twilight. I'm not going to. Yeah. My problem there is I need more vampire romance in my life. Yeah. How do I find that? And Amazon's saying, oh, you should check out these books. That's my problem. So don't be mean.
That's the actual problem. Okay, and the thing again, like we discussed previously, think about the Amazon search bar as if you would Google, as if you would YouTube. So, for example, okay, if I got a problem and I want to read a short article about it, I'll go to Google. If I got a problem and I want to see a video instruction, I did this with running, how to increase the speed and running form, etc. I'll go to YouTube. Now, the same applies to the book format, and that's the best place to get the results in terms of the bookstore. So use the search bar as if you would as a customer using Google, and YouTube as a search engine. So that's a good way to do it. So as an example, I want to set up a business. I would search new business from home. If you wanted to, find our ebook, which we published a couple of weeks ago, make money online, or make money from laptop, or work from home. So those kind of keywords maybe linked to finding the book that we published a couple of weeks ago.
And Amazon actually makes it easy. Like, I've just plugged make money into the search bar and it's already popping out. So there's make money online is the first auto suggestion, make money from home, which you just mentioned, make money while you sleep, make money eBay, make money as a freelance writer, how to make money in stocks, make money as a life coach. These are auto suggestions. They're auto suggestions because these are things that people have already looked for on Amazon. So if you want to write a book about making money, this is already pointing you in the right direction. If you can address any of these areas, that's great. So Amazon wants to give you this information. We just need to know how to extract that information.
Yeah, so that's the first tip actually. If you're struggling on where to start, say, look, I want more customers, you would type the word marketing or business marketing or growth hacking or common phrases that you may be aware of into that search bar. Then Amazon will help you autocomplete. So it starts to give you clues on what people are searching for. So that's the first big tip to get started with. But is there a simple solution similar to what we just almost like how we nailed the category section? Is there a simpler way to do this?
Yeah. So what we're going to do is, now we've already know our categories. Let's say we've chosen 3 categories which they either fell between certain Amazon sales ranks and we manually check them, or we found them using KD Spy, or we found them using some exterior Kindle research from Fiverr or somewhere like that. So let's say we have our 3 categories. Now what we want to do is look at what books are already selling really well in those 3 categories. These are the 3 categories we're going to be competing in. So we should know what's already ranking there, what's already doing well in terms of keywords. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the top 20 books or the top 30 or as many as you can possibly do. We're going to look at them and we're going to analyze the keywords that those books are using already. And this is based on the assumption that, okay, these books are doing well in this category. One of the reasons why they're visible in the category is because of their keywords. Therefore, we will look at the keywords that these books are already using. That's the logic we're using here. So there are tools online. We can put one in the links maybe. There's one called online-utility.org/text analyzer, but just Google word frequencies and you'll be able to find tools that when you give it a block of text, it's able to pull out the most common words in a particular block of text. So
what text would they put in there, or are you going to show us?
Yeah. So we're going to go through, if we're doing it manually, we're going to go through the top 10 books or the top 20 books, and we're going to copy and paste the title and the subtitle from each and every one of them into a document. I've actually prepared one because that's obviously extremely laborious.
Carl prepared one earlier.
Yeah, here's one I made earlier. I've got the top 20 books from, I think this is Home-Based Business. So we've got Law of Brand Attraction, Think and Grow Rich, Wear the Perfume, Not the Bottle. Don't know what that is. How to Sell on Amazon in 2020, 7 Fulfilled by Amazon Secrets that turn beginners into bestsellers, etc., etc. I've got all of the book titles. Those book titles include the subtitles. So I would go ahead and I would copy and paste them all into a text analyzer, and that's going to throw out the most common words, the words that are being used the most often in these particular book titles. And again, we're using these because these books are ranking well in the category we are targeting, and these books use these keywords. So we should borrow those keywords. This is the logic we're using. I've actually lost my text analyzer. Bring it up on the screen. Shall I do that? That's probably easiest.
Yeah, bring it up on screen. Yeah,
I'll hide you for a second.
Yeah.
So we can look at text analyzing. It's very exciting. So again, this is the manual method. And I'm going to show you an automatic method. Cool. So I have copy and pasted all of these, there we go, into onlineutility.org/text. So it's a very ugly looking website, but free software utility allows you to find the most frequent phrases and frequencies of words. All I've done is copy and pasted these titles in. So that's a duplicate. I'll get rid of that. And I'm going to press process text. It's going to chug away, and it has now pulled all of the phrases and all of the words, and it's going to tell me their relative frequency. So here we go. What I'm interested in is the unfiltered word count at the bottom. So we're going to ignore words like to and. But what we're seeing here is in the home business category, the most common words are showing up in those top 20 books are Amazon. Okay, that's useful. Business, guide, beginners. Again, I'd ignore these filler words like how. Marketing, money, book, grow, FBA, which is fulfilled by Amazon, products. These are all keywords that are working well because these are the top sellers. So I would pull out all of those words, I'd write them down on a bit of paper or in a document. These are the keywords I need to be aiming for. This also gives me the phrases. So top phrases containing 2 words. The top one here, which shows up 6 times in 20 books, is how to. The next one is guide to. Then we have beginner's guide. We've got stuff about Amazon again, FBA secrets, etc., etc. But what I'm most interested in here is how to and guide to. So based on this kind of information, I'd be able to start to put together my own title, almost like how to do business on Amazon, your beginner's guide to marketing, etc. That would be a title based on key phrases and based on keywords that are already ranking really well in this particular category. So again, we're using the data in order to kind of hack our way to the top. I'm going to bring back Harms, because as interesting as text analysis is,
I mean, it's going to be somebody's cup of tea. That kind of stuff is not my cup of tea, which is why I've been banished. But like with any frequency, the more information you can put in, the better. So if you've got time, you go 20 titles, 30 titles, 40 titles. But I think the way you describe that, Carl, which is a how-to guide to selling on Amazon via FBA. It could be comma, the ultimate beginner's guide, or whatever words you're going to extract from there, that will help you form the title, which almost gives you an umbrella as well to start thinking about what you can be talking about also.
So what we're doing here is we've got the category, we know what the category is, so we can then go into that category and start to analyze the keywords and pull out the most frequent keywords in that category. We can then jumble those keywords together into what you've just said, a title and a subtitle. And then, guess what? That's going to be the contents of our book. So we've gone from category to keywords, from keywords to title. And because we started with categories that are based on our expertise and our knowledge, we should be able to create a book about this title. I mean, the actual creation process we're going to be talking about tomorrow. But this whole framework has allowed us to narrow down from, instead of 16,500 categories, we've narrowed it down to 3. Then we've worked out the keywords that are already working in that category, and then we start to jumble those keywords and those key phrases together into something which could be our title for the book. Obviously, you can tweak that, it can be creative, but it's given us the skeleton, the core of that title, which in turn is the contents of our book.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're anything like us, you want your life to be even easier. So I believe, is it KD Spy can also do that work for them?
Yep. So instead of me manually copying and pasting each and every title and subtitle, KD Spy can go in, grab all of the titles and subtitles and run that kind of textual analysis for you. And then it does like a pretty word cloud with all of the key phrases. The more the key phrases used, the bigger it will be. And again, what you see a lot is phrases like how to and guide to. So I'm not that surprised those turned up in that textual analysis. How to seems to be a very useful key phrase. And that makes sense, again, because remember why people are looking for these non-fiction books. They're looking for a solution to their problem. So it makes sense that how to is an extremely powerful key phrase on Amazon.
How to and guide to. So let's just summarize now. We've gone through and we've worked out that there's 2 extremes that we can live in, and they're not ideal. One is a place which has low competition and is a small category that we're most likely to rank in, but not make any money in, or not get enough traffic. The other one is a large category, which could potentially bring lots of sales, but we're competing with some big players, the Richard Bransons, the Warren Buffetts, the latest book to be published by a recognized author, even in the non-fiction world. So that's that category. We want to find somewhere in between using a research method. That research method is a two-stage approach. Approach number one is work out which category to live in, and we want to get it down to 2 to 3 categories, so that when we publish our book, we, number one, is know what category what we want to feature in, and number two, we're not guessing once all the work is done. Then we work through the second process, which is now identifying keywords that will rank quite well within that particular category. So what do we do with all this information? Very simple. We know what the category is, which means a book is going to be uploaded into there. What do we do with the keywords then? We do 3 things. We include the keywords in 1, our title, number 2, our subtitle, and number 3, in the description of the book, which I love because it takes the guesswork out of this. It means we've done some homework. It means we have weighted the chance of success because we're now playing in the middle ground between both of these ponds. That's where we want to be focusing. And ultimately, what this does, which we've sort of highlighted, is it tells us what the content of our book will be. It tells us what we should be talking about within our book. And now remember, we should already be an expert in this area. We didn't neglect that. And we should be talking to a marketplace that exists, but it's not just too large or general that we won't compete in it. We're finding the middle ground here. So what actually now goes in the book and how you form that, we're going to be covering that tomorrow. The big thing now is we know what we're going to be talking about. We know what the book will be about, which is fantastic. So remember, the concern of not having an idea for the book is being eliminated. We know what Amazon readers want, and the focus has been on Amazon because they're the biggest. We may as well start there. We know what the readers want, and that's a great starting point. That's the key here. And that's it. The end result is you have a list, some categories, a list of key phrases to work with, and now you can get to work. Yeah.
I mean, we are going to be talking into how you actually put together the contents of the book today, but by using those categories and then the key phrases from the categories and then turn those key phrases into some kind of title or subtitle, you are already very close to being able to flesh out what that actual book's about. We're putting up the tent poles as it is, and we're going to be now hanging the tent material across it tomorrow. But we have the spine, we have the core of what will be a successful book.
Yeah, absolutely. So if there was some to-dos to share with you, those to-dos are very simple. Work through those 3 exercises. You remember we started with getting down on paper and answering those expert questions. If you want to take that to another level, watch last week's show. That will get you all the way to the point of the exact business niche idea starting point for you. That would be fantastic. If not, start with that exercise as a snapshot, then go and do the category research, whether it's manual or via the paid tool. Then go ahead and do the keywords research, whether it's manual or via the paid tool. So that's the key. And then tomorrow you can join us and we'll be talking about what to now put in your book. Now we know what your book is going to be about. That's the starting point. Fantastic. So 3 things before we sign off. Number 1 is don't forget to subscribe to the BBO show. You can do that here or you can do that on the website at bbo.show. Show notes, links, quick reference videos and blogs that will be uploaded will be also available on the website, which is bbo.show. Just type that into your box as the URL and that will appear. And finally, don't forget we've got the Slack group, which is available for you guys, which is completely free. And another final note is we've got an ebook, which is the exact process which we're sharing with you this week. So to get a look at the final product there, go check that on Amazon. That link is in the description below. 200 different ways to make money online whilst working from home. Just need a laptop, need a Wi-Fi connection, and you can get going. So that's it from us. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow and starting to fill this book, this ebook with content. Now we know what the title is.
Perfect. See you tomorrow.